If you've ever been tempted to search your own name on the dark web, don't. I did, and I'll never be the same again. I know what you're probably thinking. What's the worst that could happen? Maybe you'd find some old photos from social media, an embarrassing email address you used in high school, or one of those sketchy data breach lists. That's the harmless side, the side they let you see. But the deeper you go, the more it stops being about information and starts becoming something else. Something that looks back at you. The night I searched my name, I didn't just find records. I didn't just find traces of myself scattered across databases. I found things that had no reason to exist. Things that felt personal. Things only I should have known. And worst of all, I found proof that someone, or something, was already watching me. At first, it felt like a joke. Like one of those creepy internet legends people tell on forums. Don't click this link, don't go to that site. I'd heard stories about government watch lists, about hackers stalking random people who wandered into the wrong corner of the net, about shady groups trading personal info like baseball cards. That alone would have been enough to scare most people off. But not me. My curiosity drowned out the warning bells. And trust me, there's a special kind of regret that comes when curiosity turns into self-destruction. Because what I saw wasn't just a violation of privacy. It wasn't just invasive, it was predatory. The site didn't simply contain information, it was alive with it, updating, breathing, reacting to me as if it knew I was there. My name wasn't just in a database, it was on a stage, and I was being called to step into the spotlight. I'll admit, I laughed at first. Nervous laughter, but laughter all the same. I thought it was just some elaborate hoax, a digital haunted, house built to spook thrill-seekers like me. But then the entries got darker, the details got sharper, and then the site started showing me things that hadn't happened yet. That's when I realized the truth. This wasn't just a mirror of my past, it was a script for my future. And if you've ever wondered what it feels like to see your own death typed out on a glowing screen, let me tell you, it's not something you can laugh off. But before I explain how far this rabbit hole goes, before I tell you how close I came to losing everything, you need to understand where it all began. Because the night I searched my name, that was only the beginning. The night it all started wasn't special. It wasn't cursed or marked by some strange omen. It was just normal. And that's what makes it so unsettling in hindsight. Because if something this horrifying can crawl out of an ordinary night, it means it could happen to anyone. At the time, I was still in school, pulling late nights the way students do. My room was a mix of half-finished assignments, empty coffee cups, and the faint hum of my laptop. The kind of scene no one would ever call remarkable. Outside my window, the world was wrapped in silence. The campus was always dead around midnight. Even the wind felt tired, brushing against the glass just enough to remind me that I wasn't alone in the world, even if it felt that way. The glow of the screen painted my walls in pale blue light, a kind of artificial comfort. I wasn't researching anything important, just wasting time. Watching dumb videos, scrolling through forums, the usual endless spiral of procrastination. That's how it always starts, right? You think you're in control, just browsing, just passing the time. I remember my roommate Kyle shifting in his bed on the other side of the room. He wasn't asleep yet, just lying there with his earbuds in, pretending not to pay attention to me. Eventually, he pulled one out and muttered, "Dude, you're still up? What are you even doing?" "Nothing," I said without looking away from the screen. "Just clicking around." He sat up, rubbed his eyes, and gave me that look he always gave me whenever I was about to do something stupid. "You're not getting into that dark web crap, are you? Because if you are, don't." "Seriously," I laughed, brushing him off. "Relax, I'm just reading." But he didn't laugh. His tone sharpened. "No, I mean it. People disappear, man. You think it's all fake, but it's not. There's stuff down there you don't want to see. You think Reddit is wild? That's the kid's pool. The deep end has sharks." He didn't need to say it twice for me to understand his point. He was spooked. And maybe he had every right to be. But of course, I didn't take it seriously. I waved him off like he was my mom, warning me not to touch a hot stove. And here's the part that twists my stomach every time I replay it in my head. If I had listened to him that night, if I had closed the laptop and just gone to sleep, I wouldn't be telling you this story. Instead, I shrugged and kept scrolling. The thing is, once you're online at that hour, when the world outside is quiet and all you can hear is the tap of your keys, it feels like the rules don't apply anymore. Curiosity doesn't just whisper, it digs its claws into you. Think about the times you've Googled yourself. Everyone's done it. You see your Facebook page, your old yearbook photos, maybe a random article you didn't know your name was attached to. It's harmless. That's the normal internet. A mirror that only shows what's already been seen. But the dark web, at least the way I imagined it then, was like a funhouse version of that mirror. Distorted, forbidden, and irresistible. What would it show me? What did it know that I didn't? Remember leaning back in my chair, my finger hovering over the touchpad, the blue glow of the screen catching Kyle's expression. He was staring at me, waiting for me to stop, waiting for me to take his warning seriously. But I didn't, because in that moment, the ordinary world felt too small, too predictable. I wanted to see what was hiding on the other side of the glass, and that, right there, was the crack in the door. The smallest decision, the most harmless act of curiosity, became the invitation. I didn't know it yet, but by the time I started typing, I was already caught in the current, and once you let it pull you in, there's no swimming back. If curiosity is a door, then the dark web is the hallway behind it, narrow, endless, lined with doors you don't want to open. Most people only ever hear about it in whispers. News headlines about criminals getting caught, YouTubers talking about hitmen for hire sites, or the occasional urban legend about people accidentally buying something alive. You've probably heard those stories. Everyone has. But what they don't tell you is what it feels like to actually be there, to sit in front of your screen and realize that the internet you know, the safe, brightly lit surface, was only the tip of something much deeper. That night, I downloaded the Tor browser. My hands shook, though I pretended to myself it was just the caffeine. The icon sat on my desktop like a loaded gun. I hesitated, clicked it open, and the window bloomed across the screen. Bare bones, ugly, foreign. There was something alien about it, as if even the software knew it wasn't supposed to be touched by people like me. I remember the way the glow of the monitor made the room feel smaller. Shadows stretched across my walls, twisting with every flicker. The hum of the laptop fan filled the silence between keystrokes, and for the first time that night, I realized how quiet it was outside. Too quiet. The first sights were disappointing. Marketplaces, broken links, nothing that lived up to the legends. But then the forums started appearing. Usernames scrolled by in endless lists. Bloodveil 13, Unseen Eyes, XX Silent Witness XX. All anonymous, all faceless. Yet somehow each one felt like they were staring directly at me. The threads were no better. Titles that made my skin crawl. How to clean bones. Experiments that still work. Streams tonight. Password needed. I clicked into one at random. The posts were worse. Grimy text describing things that no sane person would share, let alone commit to words. It wasn't just illegal. It was wrong in a way that felt spiritual. Like each sentence I read was poisoning me a little at a time. I wanted to back out, but I didn't. Because somewhere in the middle of all the filth and madness, something ordinary appeared. A thread buried in the noise, almost invisible. Its title was simple, almost playful compared to the others. Search yourself. Know the truth. At first, I thought it was a joke. Some edgy teen trying to get a rise out of strangers. But the thread had replies. Hundreds of them. Scrolling through, I felt the hairs on my arms rise. People weren't laughing. They were confessing. One user said they searched their name and found police files about crimes they hadn't committed. Yet, another claimed they saw photos from cameras inside their own home. A third begged anyone reading to never ever try it. Their last post ended mid-sentence. I should have closed the window. I should have gone to bed. Kyle was still awake on the other side of the room, muttering something to himself through his earbuds, completely unaware of what I was staring at. I even glanced at him once, my finger hovering over the power button, thinking maybe I'd listen to his warning after all. But then I scrolled down and saw the latest reply. Just 2 words. It works. That was all it took. My chest tightened, my pulse picked up, and that gnawing, poisonous curiosity dug its claws deeper. What would I see if I tried? Was it just a trick? Some creepy roleplay? Or would it actually show me something? And if it did, what? I swallowed hard, the dryness in my throat reminding me how long I'd been sitting there without moving. My hands hovered over the keys. The cursor blinked on the screen like a heartbeat. Waiting, daring. Me in the silence, I could almost hear Kyle's voice repeating, "Don't. People disappear." But that's the thing about warnings. You never really believe them until it's too late. So, with the weight of a decision I didn't understand pressing down on me, I clicked into the reply box. And I typed my name. The moment I hit enter, I expected nothing. Maybe a broken link, maybe some troll's idea of a joke. Instead, the page blinked, refreshed, and suddenly, there I was. At first, it was almost funny. My name popped up like I just Googled myself. My old Facebook profile, blurry pictures from high school parties, an email I hadn't used since middle school. I let out a quiet laugh, shaking my head. This is it? This is the big dark web? Secret? But then I scrolled down. The laughter caught in my throat. It wasn't just my old accounts anymore. My current address was there. Not the one I'd posted on any site, but the exact apartment number where I was living right then. My phone number followed, then my class schedule, even the ID photo I'd taken for my student card. an image I knew had never been online. My heart started to pound. I refreshed the page, hoping it was a glitch. But when the screen blinked back to life, more entries had appeared. A scanned copy of my driver's license. A list of prescriptions I'd picked up at the pharmacy. Even a grainy image of me walking across campus, taken from a camera I'd never noticed. That was when the cold realization hit. This wasn't just scraped data. It wasn't just stolen information. This was surveillance. Live. My palms were sweating, the keyboard slick under my fingers. I scrolled again, desperate to make sense of it. More details appeared, almost as if someone was typing them in at that very moment. The timestamp updated in real time, and then, ping. A chat box appeared in the corner of the screen. User. Unknown. We've been waiting for you. I froze. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier. My instinct was to close the laptop, slam it, shut and throw it against the wall, but my hands wouldn't move. My eyes were locked on the blinking cursor in the chat box. I didn't type anything back. I didn't even breathe. Another message slid in. User unknown. You've lived a boring life. But that's about to change. My stomach lurched. The glow of the screen was the only light in the room. And for the first time all night, I realized Kyle wasn't making noise anymore. I glanced over. His earbuds were still in, his chest rising and falling with slow, steady breaths. He was asleep, completely unaware of what was happening 3 feet away. I turned back to the screen. Refresh. Now there were files with names I didn't recognize. Some were labeled with dates, future dates. A creeping dread filled me as I clicked one open. Inside was a short line of text. Car accident, February 17th, 2026. I laughed nervously, too loud, trying to convince myself it was absurd. Yeah, okay, I muttered under my breath. Nice try. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Because somewhere deep down, I didn't feel like I was looking at a joke. I felt like I was looking at a spoiler. Refresh. Now there was a folder, named after my mom. My pulse spiked as I clicked it open. Inside, her medical records, a timeline of doctor's visits she hadn't told me about, and a single note at the bottom. Inoperable, 14 months. I slammed the laptop shut so hard the sound echoed through the room. Kyle stirred in his bed, mumbling, but didn't wake. My chest felt like it was collapsing in on itself. I sat there, staring at the dark surface of the laptop lid, hoping I'd imagined it, hoping it wasn't real. But deep down, I knew. The site wasn't just watching me. It was watching everyone I cared about. I told myself not to open it again, to let it stay shut. But my curiosity, no, my fear, overpowered me. My fingers trembled as I lifted the lid. The screen flickered back to life instantly, like it had been waiting. Refresh. This time the chat box was already active. User unknown. Don't close it again. I felt ice in my veins. Whoever or whatever this was, it knew everything. It knew I'd hesitated, knew I'd shut the lid. I wasn't just browsing a site. I was in a conversation, a game I hadn't agreed to play. I tried to type back, my fingers fumbling across the keys, but before I could finish, New text appeared. User unknown. You don't need to ask questions. We'll show you. The page refreshed on its own. More files spilled onto the screen like water breaking through a dam. Some had names I recognized. Friends, family, professors. Others were complete strangers. Each folder, each entry, a thread, connecting me to something far larger than I could understand. And as the files grew, a sickening thought dug into my mind. I wasn't just reading about myself anymore. I was being written. Every refresh wasn't just information being shown. It was being created, updated in real time, and if the page was alive, then someone, somewhere, was watching me right then. But the worst part wasn't what I saw about myself. It was what I saw about the people I loved. The storm outside rolled in without warning. 1 second, the sky was just a deep, heavy black pressing against my window, and the next it cracked open with a sheet of lightning. Thunder rattled the glass and made the shadows in my room jerk and twist. It felt as if the world itself was reacting to what I was staring at on my screen. The site was no longer just a page. It had changed. Its layout shifting, tabs multiplying without me clicking anything. New folders appeared with every blink, every refresh, as though the act of me looking was feeding it, growing it, and worse, the files weren't all predictions anymore. Some were surveillance images, grainy, time-stamped photos that looked like they'd been pulled from security cameras. One of them was of me, sitting at my desk, right there. The photo had been taken less than a minute earlier. I shoved my chair back, my heart punching at my ribs. The storm outside seemed to get louder, rain hammering the glass in frantic bursts, wind screaming against the frame. Kyle was still asleep, completely oblivious, his earbuds sealing him off from my spiraling nightmare. On the screen, another image appeared. Not me this time, but my mother, caught on her porch, keys in hand, like she'd just gotten home. A timestamp read 1 hour ago. The site wasn't just watching me, it was everywhere. And then the lists began. Plain text, scrolling down the screen. At first they looked like boring calendar entries, but then the details sharpened into something else. Daniel Carter, fatal car accident, 2/17/2026. Professor Harold, collapse in lecture hall, next Tuesday. Kyle, suffocation in sleep, tonight. I stared at that last one, bile rising in my throat. I turned to look at Kyle. He was sprawled across the bed, earbuds still in, chest rising and falling. Peaceful, alive. But for how long? I slammed the laptop lid shut again, my breathing ragged. The thunder boomed like a warning. I pressed my palms against my eyes, whispering to myself, "It's fake. It has to be fake." But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I lasted maybe 10 seconds before I opened it again. I don't know why. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the need to prove myself wrong. The glow of the screen filled the room once more, and this time the chat box was waiting for me. User unknown. Why did you close it? My throat tightened. I didn't type anything. I didn't dare. The cursor blinked, then more text appeared. User unknown. We told you. Don't. I sat frozen, watching as new letters began to crawl across the box. User unknown. Check the window. My head snapped toward the glass. Lightning flashed again, bathing the room in a white glare. And in that instant, I could have Sworn I saw something, a smudge, a figure, pressed against the glass. Then came the knock, just one. A sharp, deliberate tap, as though someone's knuckle had rapped directly on the pane. I shot out of my chair, nearly tripping over the mess on my floor. My pulse screamed in my ears. I yanked the curtain aside. Nothing. Just the storm, the rain, streaking down in silver rivers. No one outside. But when I turned back to the screen, there was a new picture waiting. It was me, standing at the window, the exact position I had just been in seconds before. My stomach flipped. The photo was impossible. It wasn't from my phone. It wasn't from any device I owned. Someone else was here. Someone had to be. I backed away from the desk, my chair, screeching across the floor. My eyes darted to the corners of the room, the shadows, the door. Every part of me screamed to run. But where? To who? Who would believe me if I said my laptop had just shown me a photo of myself taken in real time? From outside my window, another thunderclap shook the building. Kyle rolled over, mumbling in his sleep, still trapped in blissful ignorance. For a second I envied him. The chat box pinged again. User unknown. Stop looking around. We see you. My breath caught in my throat. My hands shook so badly I couldn't even type if I wanted to. But it didn't matter. They didn't need my replies. They weren't asking questions. They were writing my story, one line at a time. And that was the moment it clicked. That was the moment I realized. I wasn't the one searching anymore. Someone was searching me. The storm outside roared, as if to punctuate the thought. The walls felt thinner, the darkness heavier, and suddenly the air in the room was suffocating. The glow of the screen was no longer just light. It was a spotlight, and I was trapped in its beam. I wanted to scream. I wanted to wake Kyle, to beg him to see what I was seeing. But something inside me whispered that dragging him into this would be worse. If the site knew everything about me, it knew everything about him too. Maybe it already owned him. The chat box blinked again, words forming slowly, deliberately, user unknown. Ready to see more? I didn't touch the keys. I didn't need to. The page refreshed itself, opening new tabs, more folders, more faces. The storm outside raged harder, thunder booming like the sound of a closing door. And as the images loaded, as the text scrolled across the screen, I felt it. The line between online and offline wasn't there anymore. Whatever this was, it wasn't just inside my laptop. It was here, in the room, bleeding into the real world, and there was no shutting it out. I told myself that closing the laptop would end it, that if I just shut it down, powered it off, shoved it under my bed, and ignored it, the nightmare would stay trapped in the glow of the screen. But the next morning proved me wrong. The first thing I noticed was my phone. When I unlocked it, the wallpaper was different. No lock screen photo of me and Kyle goofing off. No silly meme I'd set the night before. Instead, it was a grainy black and white image of me, sleeping, taken from the corner of my own room. Dropped the phone onto the carpet like it was burning my hand. My stomach twisted, but I tried to rationalize it. Malware, a hack, some prank Kyle was pulling. But when I looked over at him, he was still dead asleep, earbuds jammed in, his laptop untouched. No way he could have pulled this off. The phone buzzed again. A new notification. I forced myself to pick it up. It wasn't a text. It wasn't a call. It was an email. From no reply null.host. Subject: you should have listened. The body of the email was empty except for a single line. Window. 3:17 a.m. I glanced at the time. It was 9:42 a.m. My chest went cold. 3:17 a.m. was when I had heard that knock. That was when they took the photo. From there, everything started leaking into the real world. It wasn't confined to the dark web anymore. It was here, dripping into my life like ink seeping through paper. Letters began arriving at the dorm. No postage, no return address. Just my name written across the front in crooked black marker. Inside, sheets of printer paper with nothing but dates. Dozens of dates. Most in the future. Some already passed. The first time, I nearly tossed them in the trash. But then I noticed one of the past dates, marked with a shaky circle. It was the exact day my uncle had died of a heart attack 2 years ago. I didn't throw the letters away after that. I kept them in a shoebox under my bed, like hoarding proof of my own damnation. It wasn't just paper. I'd catch people staring at me in public. Not the casual glance you give a stranger, but the kind of stare that lingers, heavy, too focused. I'd walk past someone in the campus cafe and they'd whisper my name. Not hey, not do I know you, just my name. Flat, precise, like they were reading it from a script. One night, I decided to check the dorm's CCTV cameras. Kyle worked part-time with campus security, and I convinced him to let me peek at the feeds. He thought I was being paranoid, but he humored me anyway, and that's when I saw it. The footage was from 3:17 a.m., my hallway, the camera pointing right at my door. There I was, opening the curtain, just like I remembered. But there was someone else in the frame. A tall, shadowy figure standing at the very edge of the hall's blind spot, just out of the light, perfectly still, watching. And the worst part? When I paused the video, scrubbed back, and zoomed in, there was no face, just darkness, like the figure itself was a hole where a person should be. I didn't say a word to Kyle. I just logged out and left. Since then, glitches follow me like static. My phone camera turns on without me touching it. Random files appear on my laptop with names like Next PDF and Watching TXT. One night, I swear I heard my email notification sound even though the computer was off. It's like the barrier between online and offline doesn't exist anymore. And maybe you think I'm exaggerating. Maybe you think I've lost it, that none of this could be real. That I'm just another kid who stayed up too late chasing horror stories on Reddit. But if you think that, then I have one piece of advice. Search your own name tonight. Not on Google, not on Facebook. Go deeper. Peel back the layers. Go where I went. Just don't blame me for what happens next. Because here's the truth I've been circling around. This isn't just about me. Those letters, those files, that faceless shadow, they're part of something bigger. A network, a pattern, A system that's already watching more people than you'd ever believe. And if you're hearing this, if you're listening to my story right now, it probably means you're already on the list too. I thought it was over when I unplugged everything. I bought a new laptop, changed my number, even stopped using Wi-Fi for a while. But running from the internet is like trying to outrun your own shadow. It's everywhere. And it was waiting for me. One night, curiosity, or maybe inevitability, pulled me back. I wanted answers, not ghosts. I wanted to see what had its claws in me. So I logged back into the dark web. Not through the same path as before. This was deeper. The site remembered me, as if it had been holding the door open. The moment I entered, my screen flickered, and instead of forums or threads, I saw what looked like a file directory, a database. At first it looked simple, usernames, folders, timestamps. But as I scrolled, I realized these weren't random accounts. They were people, real people. Each folder was named after someone, and not just famous names, ordinary names. Neighbors, classmates, co-workers. I even saw Kyle's name. My hand froze on the trackpad. I clicked it inside his folder. Photos. Not just pictures from his Instagram or Facebook. These were things that shouldn't exist. Images of him in our dorm kitchen at night, cooking ramen, alone. Audio clips of his voice, snippets of conversations we'd had that were never recorded. A subfolder labeled medical with scans of his lungs from a doctor's visit he'd never even mentioned. And another subfolder marked in bold red text, end. I didn't open it. I couldn't. I kept scrolling, hands shaking, eyes blurring from the screen. I saw other names I recognized, professors, kids from high school, even my mother. Every folder growing thicker and thicker the deeper I went. This wasn't data scraping. This wasn't some hacker pulling from public records. This was surveillance. Total, absolute surveillance. The kind that shouldn't be possible. And then I saw it. My own name. I don't remember clicking it, but suddenly the folder was open, and there I was, staring at the catalog of my entire existence. Everything was there. Old report cards from grade school, messages I'd deleted years ago, notes I'd written in journals I had burned, even dreams, yes, dreams, typed out in chilling detail, as if someone had been recording them as I slept. Each file was time-stamped, labeled with neat clinical precision. And then, the future. Files with dates that hadn't happened yet. Car accidents, illnesses, betrayals. Things I hadn't done but apparently would. I wanted to scream, but my throat locked. Because deep down, I believed it. I clicked one labeled Tomorrow. It was a video file. The footage showed me, hunched over this very laptop in this very room. I was watching myself watch the file. And then, behind me, the door creaked open. A shadow stepped in. The video ended. My screen flickered. A chat box popped open. User, null. Now that you've searched, you're part of the database too. I froze. My fingers hovered over the keys. I didn't want to respond. But the box blinked again, impatient. User. Null. Every name you search expands it. Every secret you uncover feeds it. You've already given it what it needs. I finally typed, me. Who are you? The reply came instantly. User, null, not who, what. The chat box pulsed, then vanished. My screen refreshed, and another file appeared inside my folder. A new one. Final entry. MP4I didn't want to open it. God, every cell in my body told me not to, but my hand moved anyway, like I wasn't the one in control anymore. The video opened. At first it was black. Then, my room, my desk, my laptop, exactly as it was now. The camera panned slowly, deliberately, until it focused on me. Not the me sitting there watching the video. Another me, pale, hollow-eyed, staring into the camera with a look I can't even describe. And then, in a voice that was mine, but not mine, it whispered, "This is where the story ends." The screen went dark. Knowledge is supposed to be power. But this wasn't knowledge, it was a curse. Because once you see the database, once you realize it knows you better than you know yourself, you can't unsee it, and you can't escape it. It all unraveled faster than I could process. At first, it was small glitches. Passwords resetting on their own. Unread messages popping open before I clicked them. My webcam light flickering at night. But then it spread. My bank account drained. My phone screen lighting up with messages from numbers I didn't know. Strings of code, broken timestamps, coordinates that led nowhere. And then, the people. Kyle stopped answering my calls. His bed was empty, his things half-packed, like he'd left in the middle of the night. My mom's number, disconnected. Professors gone. Faces missing from lecture halls. It was like names were being erased from reality one by one, swallowed into their folders. Every time I searched, the database grew. And now, it wasn't confined to the screen. It was leaking. Black vans. Parked on my street. Engines humming though no one ever got out. The same car following me 3 days in a row, stopping when I stopped, idling when I froze. My reflection glitching in windows, lagging behind by half a second. Sleep was useless. I'd close my eyes and see lines of code crawling across my dreams. I'd hear my name whispered in static. Every time I woke, something in the room had moved, just a little. My chair angled differently. My notebook opened to a new page. My laptop powered on, no matter how many times I'd shut it down. I tried to run. Packed a bag, left town on a bus at 3 a.m. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I didn't even know myself. But the database knew. At the next stop, a man boarded the bus and sat across from me. He never looked directly at me, just typed on a tablet. I leaned forward just enough to see my name, my folder, scrolling on his screen. I got off at the next town and ran until my lungs tore. Checked into a motel under a fake name. Paid in cash. Triple locked the door. Didn't matter. The TV turned on by itself. Snow on the screen. Then words forming in the static. "We see you." You're probably thinking, I've lost my mind, that none of this could be real. And maybe you're right. Maybe this is what madness looks like. Fragmented, paranoid, hopeless. But maybe I'm telling you this because you still have a chance. Listen to me carefully. Don't try to look this up. Don't search your name. Don't even think about it too long. Curiosity is the hook. That's how it starts. I thought I could outsmart it. I thought I could walk away. But once the database has you, it doesn't let go. Every word I say is being recorded, every keystroke logged, every breath cataloged, and I can feel them getting closer now. Footsteps in the hall. I don't have much time. You need to understand, this isn't a story. This is a warning. You're next. If the screen flickers, if your phone buzzes while reading this, shut it off. Burn it. Run. Because they're already here. And once you're in the database, there's only one ending. Static crackles. Final entry complete. If you've stayed with me this long, maybe you think you're safe. Maybe you believe this ends when the video does. That you can just close the tab, turn on the lights, and forget about what I told you. But that's the trap. The database doesn't live on one site. It isn't hidden in a corner of the dark web. It's everywhere, woven into the background, feeding on curiosity. Every click, every search, every thought logged. And now that you've heard this, maybe you're already part of it. Think back. Have you ever Googled yourself late at night just to see what would appear? An old yearbook photo, an embarrassing post, a forgotten account? That's the surface. The bait. Dig deeper, and you'll find the other layer, the one that shouldn't exist. Things no one should know, things no one should see. And when you stare into that layer, it stares back. I didn't believe it either. Not at first. But everything I've told you, everything you've listened to, it isn't just a story. It's a breadcrumb trail, a warning. So, tell me, have you ever seen something online that you couldn't explain? A file that shouldn't exist? A picture of yourself you don't remember being taken? Leave it in the comments. I want to know. Maybe your experience will match mine. Or maybe it'll confirm that I'm not the only one. Because here's the part I haven't said out loud yet. The database grows with every story told. Every person who listens. Every person who dares to search. By hearing this, you've already fed it. And once it has your attention, it doesn't let go. I can feel it even now. Watching, listening, writing this script through my fingers. If you're wondering why I keep uploading, why I haven't just vanished like the others, it's because this is the only way to fight back, to tell as many people as possible before it's too late. But the truth, I don't know how much longer I have. So if my channel goes silent after this upload, you'll know why. Do yourself a favor. Don't search your name. Don't click that thread. Don't feed the database. Because once you're in, there's only one way out, and it won't be your choice. They're here.